Hey there, everybody. Franklin Taggart here. It is time for the virtual coffee break. Here's my coffee. Grab your beverage and let's have a chat, shall we? The thing that's on my mind today is, what should a person do if it's difficult for them to find their why? Now, I don't know, it's become such a cliche at this point, but Simon Sinek did a TED Talk and wrote a book about starting with why several years ago. And what he suggested was that if you start with your why, then the other answers to the questions about what you should be doing with your life would probably take care of themselves or be easier to figure out. And the truth of the matter is that, yeah, I think sometimes starting with why is a great idea. And I think that, for a lot of folks, that does make sense to start there. And that said, I know of several people I both know personally, and I know in my own situation at different times in my life, and some of the people that I've worked with as clients who have had a difficult time really articulating their purpose, their why, the thing that really, motivates and drives them. And I've spoken a lot before about how I don't believe that passion is necessarily the best guide when it comes to making our decisions, because passion is very often on the back end of an experience and not on the front end. It's not like there's something over the next hill waving a flag saying, here's your passion, come on over here, right? And so one of the things that I talk about a lot is that I'm more interested in curiosity. And even then, some folks struggle with the idea of being curious. And it got me to thinking about that there are times in our lives that when I really feel like that it's difficult to answer those kinds of questions, and especially the times when we are going through big adjustments to major changes in our lives. The reason that I say that is because starting with why and even, following your curiosity, those are both pretty emotional decisions. And they require that your emotional energy be available in order for you to actually do the work around answering the questions. And if you're going through a really major change in your life and you're going through any kind of a grieving process, or if you're going through the end of one phase of your life and entering the next, your emotions may not be available. And that's just the way that it is, and it's really difficult. I know in the work that I do, a lot of times I talk to people about what they think their gifts are. And I've had some folks that I've worked with who've been in the midst of a fairly depressed episode where they were not even able to grasp or articulate what their gifts were. And so I think one of the things that's really important is to understand that if you're having a difficult time identifying what your why is or what your purpose is, or even what you're curious about, or, what do you want to do? That's another question that a person who's going through a grieving process may have a very difficult time answering, because their emotions and their desires are wrapped up in another process that doesn't allow them the ability to add one more thing to their bandwidth. And very often one of the things that you'll see happen is they'll push back, maybe with anger, saying, you know what, stop right there. I don't have it to talk about this right now. So the thing that I wanted to put out there is that if you're going through a time in your life when your emotions are being processed for, a loss, a change, some kind of a transition, maybe you're starting to question, whether you're reaching an end in a part of your life, and your emotions are engaged in that. Get through that first before you start asking these future-oriented questions. Get your emotions sorted out. Take the time that you need to really work through the grief, work through the depression. I have several friends, and I include myself in this number, who have leaned on medication and other forms of, health help when they get into a depressed episode, whether that be, through standard Western medication or whether that be through supplements or alternative medicine. I don't care. Find a way to process those emotions, and don't rush the process. It's like, don't feel like that you have to get this done. It will be done on its own time, in its own way. The one thing that I will suggest is don't go through it alone. If you're reaching a place where your emotions are really if they're wrapped up in processing some kind of a loss or a change or a difficulty of some kind, reach out to someone that you trust, or to a professional who is familiar with that kind of situation, and lean on them. I think the worst thing to do when we're going through those kinds of emotional times, I think the worst thing to do is to isolate ourselves to the point where we're really cut off from other people. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do is to get the help that would be, get the help that's going to get you through this. And don't worry too much about the future. It'll be there waiting for you when you're ready and when you can start to answer these questions of starting with why and, following your curiosity and identifying your gifts, and even reflecting on your passionate experiences and what have been some of the hallmarks of those. So the other thing that I would mention to you is that I think it's important also to have some inputs during those emotional times that are not demanding, but they do fuel you in some way. And I can only speak for myself here. Honestly, I've been going through a period of my own lately where I'm starting to reflect on what's next in my life. And honestly, I don't have the answers. And quite honestly, my energy and emotions have been kind of wrapped up in putting to rest a part of my life that's been a big part of it for many years. And I don't have a lot of bandwidth right now to even think about next year, let alone tomorrow. And one of the things that I allow myself to do during those times is to consume junk. Not necessarily junk food. I'm not making a beeline to McDonald's here, and I'm not filling up on Twinkies or sugar or anything like that, although I will admit to some chocolate. But what I will tell you is that it has been important for me to allow myself time to read novels that aren't great literature, and to watch television shows that, aren't intellectually stimulating or challenging. They're just interesting, fun, weird, strange. One of the things that I gain from those kinds of activities is that at some level, it allows my energy stores to come back up. And it's just a form of rest. It's like, it's a way of recharging the battery. If I'm spending my time watching an online course or watching videos about how to get more YouTube subscribers, that's more of a drain on my energy right now. And so I'm looking for things that I can do that are not going to be taxing, but they're going to be nice pastimes. Sometimes I'll just pick up my guitar and I'll play some scales or play a weird chord progression or just something like that, just to get my mind off the emotional roller coaster for a few minutes. So what I would say is that if you're having a difficult time articulating your purpose, your gift, your why, any of that stuff, check it at the door and see if you're going through something, emotional right now that you just need to get through before you can actually come back to those things and give them the attention and the energy that they need. Sounds simple, but it's not easy. If you'd like somebody to talk to about any of this stuff, please feel free to reach out. Best way to do that is to schedule a free Best Next Step coaching session. There's no strings attached, no pitch. This is simply 1 hour of a conversation where we can work through whatever's going on and get you to the place where the next step becomes clear. bit.ly/best next step call, capitalized best next step and call, and all one word, no spaces, no hyphens. Awesome. Thanks for your time and your attention. I'll look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Tomorrow will be Your Own Best Company, featuring a wonderful guest named Laura Livingston. She's a coach and a person who helps people who are at a pivot point in their lives, and she helps them to, swing into a new direction. So Laura Livingston will be on Your Own Best Company tomorrow, and I thank you again for your time and your attention. So long.